to keep moving!
The bridge! It's our only chance!
All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakak Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. This is another prophecy report. U.S. dollar falls. Trump's presidency faces major stress tests. All right, so as we know, the crash, or I should say the collapse, is very near. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 13. This is in the NLT. Isaiah 30 and 13, it says, "Calamity will come upon you suddenly, like a bulging wall that bursts and falls. In an instant, it will collapse and come crashing down." And that's what's getting ready to happen to this economy and this society, man. All right, let's get into it. Because it's all going to lead to what? Martial law, a police state, okay, just total chaos, plague in America, all right? So these are all the signs.
When Donald Trump returned to the White House, his supporters called him Teflon coated, a political survivor, someone who managed to beat the odds and return to the White House with even bigger numbers. Since then, Trump has managed to shake off scandals, widespread criticism, and sustained international backlash for his policies. But 1 year into his presidency, his second presidency, cracks have begun to appear in Trump's armor. His presidency is facing a serious stress test. Pressure is building from all sides, the markets, the streets, and even some of his own backers. We'll start with the US dollar. It is the backbone of America's financial system and a global safe haven. But now it is losing its shine. The dollar has sunk to new lows. Over the past year, it has fallen by 10%. In fact, this week, the US dollar recorded its sharpest one-day drop. It fell to a 4-year low. This is against a basket of global currencies. We're talking about the global peers of the US dollar like the euro, the Japanese yen, the British pound, the Canadian dollar, the Swedish krona, and the Swiss franc. The US dollar is getting weaker against these currencies, and the US president was asked about this.
Yeah, this thing is getting ready to crash. And I was looking up this verse in Zephaniah. Okay, this is Zephaniah 1 and 10. It says, "And it shall come to pass, and it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai, that there should be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and the howling from the second, and great crashing from the hills." Verse 11, "Howl you inhabitants of Maktish, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off." All right, so this is tying into the economy, right? And just pulling this up here. So I had put it in the chat. I said, how does Zephaniah 1 verses 10 through 11 compare to America's financial situation today? Okay, so it gives us the parallels, right? So right here, first part, it says historical context, original setting. Zephaniah is prophesying against Judah shortly before Babylon's judgment. Fishgate, a commercial entry point, trade and supply routes. Second quarter, wealthy residential area, middle and upper class hit. Maktish, merchant district, means mortar, financial crushing. They that bear silver, bankers, lenders, wealthy elites. This prophecy focuses less on armies and more on economic collapse, right? Key themes in the passage: economic shock, collapse of merchants, silver money losing power, nationwide panic, okay? Judgment starting at commerce, all right? Parallels to America's financial situation today. Number one, the merchant people are cut down. Modern parallel, small businesses collapsing, all right, and this has been going on for years, ever since the C-19, okay? Small businesses collapsing. retail bankruptcies. All right. And there's a lot of, over the past, 8 years. Okay. All these major retail stores, going bankrupt, closing down. Okay. It says independent merchants replaced by monopolies. Gig workers barely surviving. All right. You got BlackRock buying up all the houses. All this stuff that's going on now. Okay. These devils are monopolizing everything. It says the backbone of the economy is strained. Number 2, all they that bear silver are cut off. Silver represents wealth, savings, and financial security, and people don't have that. Modern parallel. Inflation destroying purchasing power, savings losing value, wages lagging far behind cost of living. All right, people can't keep up. Okay, there's no value in the dollar. All right, it's hard to live. Okay, debt slavery, credit cards, student loans, predatory lending. Money exists, but it doesn't protect. It says, but it doesn't protect like it used to. Exactly. All right. It says number 3, howling great crashing. This isn't just financial. It's psychological collapse. Modern parallel, market volatility, fear-driven investing, anxiety about retirement, housing, healthcare. One emergency away from disaster living. The noise today is economic stress, not swords. It says judgment begins at the economic system. Zephaniah shows judgment starting with commerce, not temples. Modern parallel, faith in markets, banks, and institutions is eroding. Trust in the quote system is cracking. People realize the economy is rigged, right? And that's what people have been complaining all over the internet about. All right, all the videos that we've done of people crying, okay, questioning life, questioning the purpose of even working. It's all rigged. And this is why they're getting rid of the so-called middle class, and it's only going to be the poor and the wealthy elite. Okay, everybody is going to be debt slaves under the elite. It says scripture consistently shows when a nation puts trust in wealth instead of righteousness, money becomes the weapon of judgment. And you know what it says that in Ezekiel, where it talks about how that money is going to be a stumbling block for their iniquity, right? Ezekiel 7, right? Ezekiel 7:19. They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. All right, dealing with the money. The silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai. They should not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity. See that? So this trust in wealth and the money in this system is going to lead to everybody's destruction. All right, as we read earlier in Isaiah 30:13. All right, the collapse is going to happen suddenly. All right, in an instant, it will collapse and come crashing down. See? Let's go back and read some more, and we'll go back to the video. All right. Number 5, Mektesh equal the mortar. Mektesh implies being ground down. Modern parallel, working harder, getting less. Okay? You earn wages to be put in the bag full of holes. Taxes plus inflation plus debt crushing households. Productivity up, quality of life down. People feel ground between systems they cannot escape. Okay? Important clarification. This does not mean Zephaniah was directly prophesying America by name. All right? But it's all by spirit. Okay? This can be implied in the spirit. But it does mean God judges nations in patterns. Economic arrogance invites economic judgment. Financial collapse often precedes national humbling. All right? It gives us precepts. Okay? James 5:1-5. Woe to the rich who hoard wealth. Ezekiel 7:9, as we just read, silver and gold unable to deliver. Revelation 18, merchants mourning the fall of an economic system. Proverbs 11:4, riches profit not in the day of wrath. Bottom line, Zephaniah 1:10-11 shows when a nation's economy becomes its God, God judges it through the economy. America today mirrors merchant collapse, currency stress, widespread economic fear, a system that no longer serves the people, right? Heavy, man. So let's go back.
To a 4-year low. This is against a basket of global currencies. We're talking about the global peers of the US dollar, like the euro, the Japanese yen, the British pound, the Canadian dollar, the Swedish krona, and the Swiss franc. The US dollar is getting weaker against these currencies, and the US president was asked about this. But he tried to brush off concerns. Donald Trump said a weaker currency was actually, and I'm quoting, great. Listen to this.
Well, Mr. President, with the current value of the dollar, do you think it's declined too much?
No, I think it's great. I mean, the value of the dollar. Look at the business we're doing. No, dollar's doing great.
You want to see it decline?
You know, it's very interesting. If you look at China and Japan, I used to fight like hell with them because they always wanted to devalue their yen. You know that? The yen and the yuan. And they'd always want to devalue it. They devalue. And I said, not fair that you devalue because it's hard to compete when they devalue. But they always fought, no, our dollar's very good.
Trump built his entire political campaign on the promise of a strong America in every aspect. But now he says a weaker dollar is actually great. It's classic Trump. He's trying to spin this in his favor, but investors are not buying this line. Today, the US dollar showed fresh signs of weakness. One expert called it a falling chainsaw. And the dollar is only one front where Washington's weakness is showing. Pressure is building over Trump's immigration policies as well. The crackdowns by ICE have boomeranged on the president. ICE, as you know, is the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They have been cracking down on immigrants whom they call illegal aliens. The crackdown has been especially brutal in the state of Minnesota. ICE agents shot dead 2 American citizens in separate incidents and detained many children. This triggered a severe backlash. It got so bad that now the US president is rolling back his campaign. President Trump gave an interview. He called the incidents in Minnesota terrible. This was followed by an announcement where Trump said he would de-escalate a little bit in Minnesota.
We're going to de-escalate a little bit, but I will tell you, you look at the numbers, they're doing better than they've done in many years.
Trump may want to spin his campaign as a success, but on the ground there's a lot of anger, both among lawmakers and the civil society. In fact, some of Trump's biggest backers are also speaking out, like Apple CEO Tim Cook. He sent a memo to his employees. Tim Cook wrote that he was, and I'm quoting, he was heartbroken by the death of American citizens at the hands of ICE agents. We have a copy of the memo. Here is what Tim Cook wrote, and I'm quoting. I believe America is strongest when we live up to our highest ideals, when we treat everyone with dignity and respect, no matter who they are or where they're from. That's what Tim Cook wrote. Reports say he also spoke to Donald Trump and he called for de-escalation. Sam Altman is making similar appeals. Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. He too sent a message to his employees, and I'm quoting again. What's happening with ICE is going too far. There is a big difference between deporting violent criminals and what's happening now, and we need to get the distinction right.
Yeah, these devils are always lying. Hey, this is the man of violence, bro. You know? It was a Psalm 58. Right? Psalms 58 and 2. Yea, in heart ye work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. All right? This is what he does. All right? Talking about de-escalation. No, this is what they want. All right? Because everything is going to forward to, forward martial law. All right? A police state, total lockdown. This is what they need, man. All right? Things are moving according to plan, which we're going to get into some more here. All right? Again, the crash, the collapse is at the door, okay?
Tim Cook and Sam Altman. These are just 2 examples. Multiple top executives have issued such statements against the crackdown on immigrants. Like the incoming CEO of Target. His name is Michael Fidelkin. Target, as you would know, is one of America's biggest retailers. Its new CEO has called the shootings incredibly painful. Similarly, the CEO of Anthropic has issued a statement. Anthropic is the company behind the Claude AI platform. Their CEO called the events in Minnesota a horror. And these comments are worth noting because some of these names, some of these people were standing right next to Trump during his inauguration. When he took oath for a second time as president, these tech and business leaders have been among Donald Trump's top supporters. Now they're speaking out against his immigration policies. And these are not isolated events. Let's put these pieces together. A falling US dollar, domestic unrest, and pushback from industry leaders and allies. Clearly, President Trump is on the back foot, and it's reflecting in his approval ratings.
Yeah, and it's all, what she just listed is all going to lead to the collapse of Babylon, man. Okay? Again, this is why the collapse is going to come suddenly. It's going to come crashing down, as we read, man. All right? Egyptian versus Egyptian. Okay, Isaiah 19. Okay. Civil wars, martial law. All right, you name it. Isaiah 19:2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. All right. This is where we at, man.
A new poll is out. It shows that Trump's approval rating on the issue of immigration has fallen. 53% of Americans do not agree with Trump's approach. This is a president who ran on the issue of immigration. It was a centerpiece of his election campaign. But now a majority of Americans disapprove of his approach. Does this mean his presidency is under threat? Well, far from it. There is no serious challenge to Donald Trump, but the pressure is real and it's immense. And for now, Trump has chosen to respond with restraint. But again, this is a politician who has built his brand on shock and disruption, so it's hard to say how long the restraint will last and how soon the next disruption will be unleashed.
The world.
Yup, extreme polarization, all right, division. You see? Isaiah 19:3, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. You see? The division is going on. People don't trust Trump, you know? They don't trust the system. All right? The spirit of Egypt is failing. All right? And I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to idols and the charmers, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. All right? Let me get one more. Mark, the go-to, all right? Mark 3 and 25, NLT. Okay? Mark 3:24, NLT. It says, a kingdom divided by civil war will collapse. There you go. Similarly, a family splintered by feuding will fall apart. This is where we at, man. What we're reading is happening right now, real time. And if Satan is divided and fights against himself, how can he stand? He would never survive. Right? So anyway, just moving on here. Okay, just to add some more. As we know, all right, the riots, the sedition of men. Okay, there's some news target. It says the coming food riots in America, cycles, collapse, and the creeping police state, man. Okay? Trump is going to bring in this martial law. All right? Let's read a little bit here. It says, introduction, the perfect storm brewing. All right? And I remember in his first term, he was talking about the storm. He kept mentioning about how the storm was coming. Well, we in it now. Across America, a perfect storm of economic collapse, engineered food shortages, and government overreach is building towards an inevitable explosion of social unrest. The term food riot invokes images of distant failing nations, but the structural cracks in the U.S. food and financial systems have reached a critical point. A convergence of factors from manipulated supply chains and hyperinflation to the weaponization of climate policy has placed basic sustenance out of reach for millions, right? And this is why it's going to be a mass panic. It's going to be a mass crash out, man, of the people. Okay? It says, we'll read a little bit more here. It says, food shortages are no longer a theoretical risk. As noted in web analysis, scenarios where companies like Amazon and Walmart step in as food banks in exchange for government contracts controlling every bite and charging triple for staples are being actively modeled. This is not merely an economic adjustment, it is a blueprint for corporate serfdom. Simultaneously, the state apparatus is preparing not to solve the hunger crisis, but to manage the resulting public fury through expanded surveillance and through expanded surveillance and force. The stage is set for a domestic conflict where the battleground is the grocery store, and the enemy, in the eyes of the state, will be its own hungry citizens. Whoo, man. All right, this is that cruel king, man. Okay, let's see if there's any more. The inevitable collapse of civilizations, which we're talking about here. The government's blueprint from ICE to a domestic police state. This is where we at. Okay. Matter of fact, we'll read this and we'll make more points on that. Okay. It says, as the crisis deepens, the state priority will shift from welfare to warfare. All right. This is the man of violence against his own people. And we've been saying this. All right. They basically declare war against their own people. The mechanisms for this are already being built and tested. Current immigration enforcement operations provide a template for domestic population control. Imagine a scenario where agencies like ICE shift their focus, as one AI predicted model suggested, from drugs to food stamp smuggling. The infrastructure for tracking, raiding, and detaining is already in place. See, it's already in place. It merely requires a change in mandate. So they need the chaos to fully bring it in. Is what we've been saying. Okay? Let's get into this right here. This is from the New York Times. Check this out.
What warrant? Wait. Can you put the guns down? There's kids in this house. There is kids in this house. Show the warrant first. Show the warrant. Show the warrant. There's nobody in here but my babies. Just stay in your room and shut the door. Sis, I'm not even touching nobody. Get your hands off of me.
See, we told y'all. See, they coming after Jake. This is Jacob's trouble right here, man. Okay, they pulled up at Jake's house. Okay, right. The height of close combat weaponry is on this woman's doorstep. Okay, remember, he gave the Assyrian the charge. In pursuit of illegal immigrants, federal agents are carrying instruments of war. Okay, he's the sword. Right? Psalm 17? I was thinking out loud. Psalm 17 and 14. Okay. Psalm 17:13. Arise, O Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. You see that? Warfare is on these people's doorstep right here, man. They're talking about, where's your warrant? I got my babies in here. You think they care about that shit? All right? This is the time we in, man. Jeremiah 30. Okay? Jeremiah 30:4, and these are the words that the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. All right? the northern southern kingdom. All right, the tribes. For thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. As we saw Jake in the video with his wife. All right, they ran up in there with high-grade military guns. Ask ye now, and see whether a man doeth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail? All right, that woman in the video was in travail, man. And all faces turned to paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he should be saved out of it. So we are in the midst of Jacob's trouble, man. Right on her doorstep, man. Okay? Again, in the pursuit of illegal immigrants, federal agents are carrying instruments of war, fine-tuned and perfected for killing at short range. Look. All right, this is in the New York Times, man. This came out a couple of days ago. All right, we're not going to read this whole article, all right? But it's basically a battlefield in Minnesota. All right, the suppressor, the maul, the M-Loke, all right? These are high-level military guns that they're carrying, man. All right, they should be like madmen sparing none. Look at this. You know? So we saw the video there, man, but that's the point, right? Let's check this one out real quick, too. All right, here's another one. America at the brink, how government death squads fueling civil war. This is what we're telling you. They're pushing it. Okay, and we ain't got to read that. You get the point. All right, the breaking point in America's descent into political violence. 2nd Ezra 15, 2nd Ezra 16. All right, the Gestapo. Okay, all of that. You see? Okay, so moving on here, the evil and violent men. All right, this is from trendingpoliticsnews.com. It says, new police unleash voice of God battlefield weapon against anti-ICE rioters. See? This man's getting ready to pull it all out, man. Okay? A military-grade crowd control device capable of projecting a powerful focus sound was brought to the forefront during a tense anti-ICE protest Monday night in a Minneapolis suburb as state troopers moved to restore order following the days of unrest. All right, we're not going to read all of that. Okay, but they bringing out the sword.
Test of the long-range acoustic device LRAD. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so you get it, man. So hey, it's all going down. Again, that the collapse is close. Okay, what more can we say? All right, this is a time of a martial law, police state, and total chaos, man. All right, Shalom.